Hello, everyone, and welcome to another of the spotlights that Equality Agency is doing for our endorsed candidates. I am super thankful for all the engagement we've seen and for the continued support of all of you in the community. So welcome to another one. I'm Eliazar Posada. I am the organizing director here at Equality MC, and I am super thankful and honored to have a conversation today with a good friend of mine, Ricky Hurtado, who is running for re-election for the NCGA House. Ricky, how are you doing? How's everything going?
I'm good. I'm good. We're 30 days, less than 30 days from the election. We're less than a week away from early voting, and we're hyped. We're excited. We're ready to get to election day and sprint to the finish line here.
Yeah, no, we're super excited for this election. We're definitely angling to help you and make sure that you make it past that finish line and get back into the House. We know that you're a strong ally and been supportive of not just the LGBT community, but many other communities as you're fighting as the only Latinx person in the General Assembly today. So for folks at home who may have not heard of you or don't know you, you want to take a moment to introduce yourself and let folks know who you are, what drove you to run for NCGA?
Yeah, of course, of course. Well, for folks I haven't had a chance to meet yet, it's an honor to be in solidarity with Equality NC. My name is Ricky Hurtado. I am the current House representative in District 63, which covers half of Alamance County. This district is one of the most competitive races in North Carolina. Certainly the case in 2020. I won by a little over 400 votes, and hoping to double that this year at least, right? And make sure we can win comfortably here heading into 2022. What really motivated me to run for office is my roots here in North Carolina and the story of my family and the story of so many in my community. I'm the son of immigrants. I'm the product of public schools. I'm a first generation college student and someone who grew up living paycheck to paycheck. And I think it was that lived reality of having to make tough decisions of, do we put food on the table? Do we pay the car bill, right? Tough stuff like that really opened my eyes to the struggles of so many families and began to realize that those are the struggles of a lot of working class families in North Carolina and across the nation. And so that combined with my passion for education, given that it really transformed my own life from public school teachers to public universities, I sort of started thinking about what does it look like to, work in public service, right? Do people have jobs in public service? And, long story short is sort of stumbled into politics where you begin to realize that a lot of the decisions that impact working families, a lot of the decisions that impact public education in North Carolina start at the General Assembly, right? And at the state level. And so starting to lobby there, starting to visit representatives there, I began to realize that folks from communities that are being challenged by these problems actually need a seat at the table. And so believing that those closest to the problem are closest to the solution, I decided to sort of take a leap of faith and run for office because I believe representation matters when it comes to issues of race, diversity, gender, economics, healthcare, all this stuff. People impacted by these issues need to be the ones at the table creating solutions for them because they know these problems better than anyone else. So that's what's motivated me to run, and that's what's motivated me to run for re-election as well, to make sure we're continue to put North Carolina in a pushing it in a positive direction here over the next few years.
Yeah, no, and thank you for that. Thank you for your courage and for your strength in running. As I mentioned, you've been a strong ally and a much needed voice in the General Assembly. So, just not just on my behalf, but on behalf of the organization and so many folks, thank you so much for your work. Definitely need you back on there. But you talk about, some of these issues that drove you to run, right? So let's talk a little bit about what are the top priorities as you're running your campaign, right? You are in Alamance County. It is a pretty tough race, right? And the community. So what are some of the top priorities for your folks? What specifically in this campaign, and how are you looking to address them in the NCGA?
Yeah. Issues impacting working families have always been at the center of everything that I've done because it's at the center of all my constituents' lives, right? And I know a hot topic of conversation right now is rising costs and inflation, But at the end of the day, that's been a challenge and a reality for families in Alamance County before the pandemic recovery, right? We know that rising costs have impacted the entire world, right? Like my wife has family in Mexico, we have friends all over the world. We hear about rising costs everywhere, right? And so that is not unique to North Carolina. But at the same time, Alamance County finds itself in a really interesting place because we have one of the fastest growing communities in the state. I think it's like top 10 fastest communities, housing boom, jobs, new jobs announcement every week. But you reach a point where you begin to ask, well, where are these people going to live, and what schools are they going to go to, and can they afford to live a comfortable life here in Alamance County? And also the people who already lived here, how are they impacted by all this growth? And so what we see is that rising costs have really impacted families in Alamance County. When you talk about healthcare, when you talk about housing is a huge pain point here in Alamance County. When you think about how rising rents have impacted families, and then you add on top of that the stuff that we're seeing now. So pocketbooks are feeling a little tight right now. But they have also been feeling tight for a while. And so that's been my biggest commitment to the district. I mean, it's connected to my own story, as I just shared. It's conversations I still have with my parents because they, are thinking about how they make ends meet as they face retirement, and, thinking about how do they live a quieter, healthier life, right? And so those are the things that keep me up at night right now. How can we make sure that our communities aren't forgotten and make sure that government is working for them? Beyond those issues of affordability, I also think about public education, and I think about safety. And so public education is a big topic of conversation here for the same reasons. Our community is growing, and we want to make sure we have fully funded, safe schools. And we've seen the General Assembly time and time again turn their back on the issue of public education, to the point where we have an unconstitutional system of government, a system of education, I should say, where every child is not getting the resources they need and deserve. And that's been said by both a Democrat and Republican judge. And so there's just no denying where we are there. And that's something that we need to act on with urgency. When you talk about the teacher crisis, shortage of bus drivers, things that really matter to families right now, we're not doing a good job in servicing their needs. And we would be remiss right now. We're talking in a moment where we continue to see rising gun violence in our communities, right? We see mass shootings happen all across the nation. North Carolina's been struck with its own mass shootings, right, just this week. And so when you begin to think about what that means for our communities, folks are traumatized, folks don't feel safe, and there's a lot more that we can be doing to make sure that communities and families and individuals are receiving the mental health support they need, but also addressing the issue of gun safety. We always seem to want to leave off the conversation around how we make sure that we are keeping safe, legal gun ownership in North Carolina. And we've seen time and time again that the Republican Party has not want to be a part of those conversations. They even passed a bill this cycle to get rid of pistol permits in North Carolina. That does not make us safer. And so when you think about the stakes and the issues, I mean, it's a no-brainer why I'm running for re-election and why I want to stay in this fight right now.
Yeah, no, thank you for naming that, and again for your leadership in the House and continue to work. So kind of staying along that topic of what's going on in the NCGA, and knowing some of the attacks that have been coming down the pipeline, and some of the policies that the Republican Party has been trying to put into place. We know that there's been several attacks against the LGBTQ community. One as recently as a couple of months ago, right, with the North Carolina's version of the Don't Say Gay bill. You have been a strong ally. So can you talk to us a little bit more about the importance of being an ally, right? What does it mean as a legislature for you to stand by the community, and what can LGBTQ folks expect from you as we move forward when you're reelected?
Yeah, I tell folks every day that when you are in office, you have two things. You have a voice and you have a vote. And you can count on both of those things as an ally to the LGBTQ community to continue making sure that we don't roll back progress on the number of issues that are on the docket now. And so things like the Don't Say Gay bill that you mentioned, were easy votes to really stand against, because we know that those aren't actually bills in the interest of the community. They're bills to politicize an issue and to scare people. And fear mongering is a tried and true tactic by extremists in the General Assembly to make sure that we are divided as opposed to coming together to solve real issues in our community. And so that's what you can expect more from me when it comes to making sure that we stand in solidarity. I truly believe that we're stronger together, and it's been a really beautiful thing to see communities stand up for each other, right? And we've seen that over the years in the General Assembly, where it doesn't matter if we're talking about healthcare, education, the LGBTQ community, reproductive freedom, issues for labor and working class families. Standing together, we know that we can get a lot done in terms of progress, but also make sure that we don't see bad bills in North Carolina. And so I look forward to continue standing in solidarity with the LGBTQ community and making sure that we don't see any of those bad bills here in North Carolina.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And thank you for this amazing conversation. I know that you're in the middle of a very busy campaign, so we super appreciative of having you join us for this conversation. But before we wind down and let you kind of do some closing statements, how can people get involved with your campaign, and what is it that you need the most?
Yeah. Great question. Nice plug. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, we're in the home stretch, right? And I tell everyone, our volunteers, constituents that are supporting me here in Alamance County, anyone that will listen to me, quite frankly, we don't want to wake up on November 9th regretting that we did not leave it all on the line. This is one of the most important midterm elections that we've ever had. Democracy is on the ballot. Reproductive freedom is on the ballot. Education and healthcare is on the ballot. Our rights and our future are on the ballot. And so making sure that we're getting the word out is so important over these next few days. We've seen overwhelmingly that when people have a conversation with our team or know what we're about as a campaign and the issues that we're fighting for, people overwhelmingly vote in our favor. But that's the thing, people have to hear that message, right? We're in a really noisy environment where we're getting messages on your phone, we have a million emails, there's a ton of conversations, TV can be intolerable at times. And so we have to make sure that this message is actually getting to folks. And so we need people power, right? We need people making phone calls. We need people canvassing the most effective get out the vote strategy that we have. We didn't have this in 2020, y'all. And so we have to take advantage and use all that pent up energy from the last few years to make sure that we're leaving it all on the table this election cycle. And so, you can go to my website, rickyhurtado.org, and volunteer to canvass over the next few weekends before the election and make sure that we are fighting for the rights and future of so many communities, including the LGBTQ community here in North Carolina this election. And of course, if you're very busy and you can't get out and actually come canvass in the community, you can always donate. That you can also do at rickyhurtado.org, and every dollar counts, y'all. We're in the finish line here and making sure that we can continue paying for our mail. And we just put up a TV commercial that we're really proud of, making sure that folks know what's at stake here. But folks got to see it, right? And to see it, you got to pay for it. And so your time or your treasure is really, really appreciated right now.
Well, Ricky, thank you so much for all your work. We will be continuing to push your campaign and sending you over volunteers as much as we can, because you're right, this is a crucial election. So much is on the ballot. And for everyone at home, as Ricky mentioned earlier, we are on the cusp of early voting. We are in the thick of it. So make sure that you have a plan to vote. Make sure that you are getting yourself and your friends and your family and all of your loved ones out to the ballot box. There's so much at stake this election. There's so much that we need to ensure pro-equality candidates are elected, so we can continue to protect our community and not regress. So Ricky, thank you so much for your time, for your leadership, and yeah, wish you the best of luck. We're going to continue to push. We're going to continue to try to get you elected, buddy.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.